Hey everyone, welcome to the Digital Fabrication Studio. My name is Jake Schraga. I'm a senior here at Stamps. And this is actually a 360 tour, so you can look around all you want. We got Ben here holding the camera, so you can just stare at him the whole time if you wanted to. So to start here, the Digital Fabrication Studio, I actually like to kind of think of it a little more as like a service center because you have to come in with a reservation for everything. That means everything is appointment-based and you have to have done the required training for each machine. Now we should actually be wearing our safety goggles in this room, so I'll put those on. Now this room, there will always be a full-time staff and a work study present to help you check in and get ready to use all of these machines. Now you have to be a current Stamps student or currently enrolled in a Stamps Studio course to use the Digital Fabrication Studio. We are currently standing in the CNC room. So we'll start right here with this 4x8 foot computer numerical control machine, or CNC. Over there we have Tim the Enchanter, who is a 12x18 inch CNC. The CNC is actually a subtractive process, meaning that it'll carve out of your material, something like wood, plastic, foam, or plaster are all materials you can use. And the CNC has your three basic X, Y, Z axes, but it also comes with a fourth rotary axis, meaning that your material can turn while it is doing its machine process. It also has some attachments, so you can add like a drag knife, you can add an engraving, a vinyl cutting, you can also add a marker attachment onto it if you want. Right next to it, we have the panel saw, and this is just to cut some of your larger materials. So now we're going to walk out, and I can take my safety glasses off. And we'll put those right here with the eyewear. And you could follow me to the next room. All right, now so we're going to start into the second room. And to start off, we'll come over here to the vacuum former. Now, the vacuum former, you can take plastic, put a positive in it, and the vacuum former will pull that shape out of the plastic, which is really good for packaging design. I actually once put this on my stomach, and it gave me a six-pack. So next to most of the machines, you'll have a computer, which is just helpful so you can prepare your files before you do anything on the machines. Right here we have Craig and Felicia, who are Fusion 3 3D printers. And this uses plastic to create low finish quality, but also that means they're the cheapest prints. And it's a really good workhorse because that means that you can make larger, cheap prints for modeling, such as things like this. Over here, we have our Formlabs resin printers. And these have the highest finish quality, but that means they're a little more expensive. So usually you'll get smaller prints like this. Fun fact, all of my teeth are actually printed out of this machine. You can see right here. That was a joke, but actually apparently people do that. And so with both of these machines, you actually have to, in your design, incorporate structural support when it prints. And you will take, once it finishes, take those structural supports and break them off, and then you can kind of file it down to get your finished product. Over here, we have our Formlabs selective laser sintering, our SLS printer. And what it does is it takes powdered nylon and fuses it together. And that is actually real helpful because you don't actually need to build your structure into it. Because it fuses the nylon, it builds its support as it prints. So those create your more finished products as it ends. And so that makes it a real helpful machine to do kind of more intricate things. And it's really a resilient print. So it'll last a really long time, and a lot of times these prints come out and they're already pretty much finished. But since it's nylon, you can actually dye it with a range of different dyes. So you can see like this one has this kind of color, greenish color, and you can also do like a purplish, whatever fabric dyes you can find that will produce really well. And as we keep walking into the corner, you can see that we have our vinyl cutter here. Now, the vinyl cutter, you can take really complicated designs and it'll cut out of the vinyl to make stickers. So here's some examples of stickers just on the vinyl machine that it cuts out to. And right next to it, we have the heat press. So you can take your vinyl and you can heat press it onto fabrics. Over here, we have the electrical soldering station, and this is actually the only one in stamps. I mean, it really makes you think about the intercalation in pedagogy, whereby grandiloquence truly eschew the pernicious of function prevalent among ephemeral constructs. Yeah. Anyways, that's it for this room, so we'll move on to the next one. All right, now we're gonna go into my favorite room because we have the laser cutters here. So over there, we have the smaller blue laser cutter, which cuts for 18 by 32 inches. Over there, we actually have one of the largest laser cutters on campus, which can cut for 2 by 4 inches. Now, the laser cutter can cut and engrave a wide range of material, although there are some materials you can actually only engrave and not cut. Right here, we have the attachment, the rotary axis attachment, which you can put only on the small one. And this is really useful if you wanted to engrave on things like cups or anything round, that this will turn and it'll engrave while it turns. So a really helpful tool there. And I actually have an example right here of a coaster I did on the small one. So you could see that it did this cut, circle cut, not very great, but a cut, and an engraving right here. So that's actually the end of our digital fabrication studio tour. And you know, you gotta make sure that you are doing all of the Stamp Studio safety guideline practices, and that before you come in, you should always check with the staff and make sure that your project is ready for the machines. We also have a Canvas page that is actually open to anybody. So if you go to Canvas, you can go to our Stamps Studio Canvas page, and there will be a module on the Digital Fabrication Studio, which will have almost all the information you need. Here at Stamps, we are here to support you and give you all the resources you need so that you can create your amazing projects. Thank you so much for watching and doing this tour with me. We'll see you later. Bye.